This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Alrighty. Hi, Ira. How you doing? How you feeling?
I'm doing good. My team not so good. Apparently, they got out of bed too quickly also over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. They're playing concussed. That's for sure. There's no doubt about that. And watching that Hornets loss the other night, that was just absolutely shameful. This is a really tough stretch for the Miami Heat organization because the players, they are what they are, and we know what Spo is already. But I think the people in the front office have to do a really nice look in the mirror on what they've done or what they haven't done overall over the years.
Except when you have a player throw a grenade in your locker room and then he leaves before it goes off, you can anticipate all kinds of what ifs, Big O. But when something that dramatic happens and someone sabotages your season, it would be like Sean having your show sheet, your engineers and or forget you flying to Vegas and not bringing your equipment and realize I've got a show to do. And what Jimmy did to them, it cannot be minimized. He's off having a great time in Golden State. The Heat are trying to recalibrate, but he literally threw a grenade in that locker room. Now, maybe what this means is that Pat Riley has to do a better job of reading the situation, of accepting that today's athletes are different, that he can't be the strongest minded, toughest willed, blah, blah, blah team in the NBA because it doesn't work anymore. But I'm not sure any team, Big O, if you took away their best player, even the Celtics, God bless them and their talent they're going to have here tonight at Kaseya Center. But you take Jason Tatum away from that team where he walks in one day and says, screw it, you guys can go to hell, I'm out of here. I even think they would have trouble adjusting. It's something we have not seen down here from a professional sports athlete, probably since Shaq, and he was not nearly at Jimmy Butler's level when he pulled his BS in 2007. So even that was different.
No, I totally understand that, but I'm taking it to the next level. Okay, so now that he's gone, look what's left over, and it shows that you really haven't found anything really super special. And so, when you talk up Bam and you talk up Tyler, and those two guys can't carry you over the Hornets, that kind of tells you something. The fact that you keep losing all these double-digit leads in these games, it kind of tells you something that, yeah, they're solid players, but they're not really stars. And that is something that they've got to look at themselves in the mirror because they have dedicated a lot of time. And while Bam does fill a fantastic role that is phenomenal, he still needs stars above him in order for it to really work the way you need it to work. And Tyler is not the star. I mean, what were his stats the other night?
Oh, he had 30 point. He had a 30 point against the Clippers. He had a 30-point game. Was not as good.
But against the Hornets, he was 9 of 17 for 21 points, 1 of 5 from 3-point range. The man needed 17 shots to score 21 points. It's just, come on, dude. This is the Hornets. Let's go.
You know what, Big O? It's the difference between stars and superstars. And you do not win an NBA championship without a superstar. So when you look at these, at the league's championship contenders this year, you're looking at Jason Tatum. You're looking at Donovan Mitchell. You're looking at Nikola Jokic. You're looking at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Superstars. You can have all the LaMelo Balls and Trae Youngs, like you and I have spoken about for years. Right. You can have that level of talent. God bless him, the Pascal Siakams and players like that. And that will get you so far, but only get you so far. Exactly. You have to see if Jalen Brunson, star or superstar. We'll see that in these upcoming playoffs. So you can have your stars. You need your superstar. For weeks on our Accurate Pembroke Pines report, you've spoken to me how they need an alpha to the baiters they have on their roster. That hasn't changed. Jimmy Butler was that alpha briefly in the time he was here, but he didn't want to carry that burden. Because the carrying that burden, the head that wears the crown, that's a tough deal to do. Remember Jimmy, when he was looking for other teams, we heard from people who were speculating, well, Jimmy doesn't want to go there because he doesn't want to be the second dog to Steph Curry. Right. I think Jimmy's realizing how much fun it is to be the second dog to Steph Curry. Steph can put up on threes. Jimmy had a crappy game last night. They still won. That's really fun. Those are the rarest players. How do you find them? you absolutely bottom out, which is why there's a race to the bottom this year, because Cooper, Flagg, maybe even Dylan Harper are that good of players that they can make franchise different. Again, this is a team that has been unwilling to go all the way down to get all the way back up.
Okay, so we've had this conversation before. I ain't paying Tyler.
You know what, Big O? I've defended to a degree. I'm gonna take this two ways, and I'm not saying you're wrong, so I'm gonna talk in circles here, and I'm gonna be mealy and mushmouth, okay? But you can't keep letting your stars walk also. You can turn them into something. You
Yeah.
can turn them into something, like
all right.
you said with Jimmy before
Okay.
the previous extension, maybe
Yes.
even before last summer. And look, and that's hindsight.
Oh no,
and you
I
didn't
said,
know.
I said it 2 years ago before this
I
last
understand
extension.
that. You said it 2 years
That's when
ago.
they could have gotten the 4 or 5 first rounders and a player. At that moment, they could have gotten a haul for Jimmy, dude. That would have
And
been
they were
fantastic.
also coming off the NBA Finals. I think with Tyler, it's a little bit easier, but I do think you have to say to yourself, if we just have a core of these two guys, if we have a core of Tyler and we have a core of Bam, is that good enough? And it is not good enough. And God bless both of them. You've got to get more. So do you do the short-term thing and make the deal for Kevin Durant that'll be there? But I don't believe that Kevin Durant, Tyler Herro, and Bam Adebayo
Put you over the top.
Adebayo make you better than the Celtics, make you better than the Thunder, make you better than the Nuggets, make you better than the Cavaliers. That's what they have to decide. Unless Big O, you're just enjoying contending. If you just want to be in the playoffs and win a round or two, which the Heat will not do this year, the Durant deal would make sense. So are you just in the business of buying time or of working toward a championship? That's what we're going to see next.
Well, they're about banners because that's what they have up there. That's what they've always been about. The guy opened up the press conference saying, "I have a dream of a parade." So they're not about just going to the playoffs. If they're just about the playoffs, then they're just about the money, and that's Mickey then. But if it's about Riley, it's about the championship. But the problem with Riley is he doesn't like to bottom out. And that's the only way. You got to trade Tyler. If you could get a pick or two, somebody can give you a couple picks because they need a shooter on their really good team, then you go ahead and do it, man. I think that's what you have to do, but you cannot. If Tyler's looking for another max deal after this, I'm sorry. There is no way, if you're the Miami Heat, that's a responsible move.
Well, and the good thing is, Big O, the extension window doesn't open till October 1st. So they will have the entire offseason to canvass the league, to see what's out there, to see what's doable. This isn't a Jimmy situation where he was either give me the money now or I'm out of here. Tyler can't do anything until October 1st. The Heat can't offer anything till then. So they do have an offseason to reassess, and they have to reassess. But here's the toughest thing, and I wrote about it today in my Ask Ira, and I'm writing about it in my Sunday column, The Sun Sentinel. Rebuilding is hard. But you know what's harder, Big O? Rebuilding when 2 of your next 4 first-round draft choices are due somewhere else. The draft is not going to be the be-all, end-all. This is not OKC loading up with Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams and all the young talent. This is a team that's going to have to find a way through some magic beans to get some veteran talent also, because after this year, or even this year, 2 of the next 4 first-round picks, 1 to the Thunder, 1 to the Hornets.
Okay, but what do? Do you then fend off the inevitable by then mortgaging more of your future to avoid the inevitable? Because then, and eventually, what you try to avoid now, then you'll have to try to avoid again down the line. I mean, it's just a vicious cycle that you've just gotta get over it and tear the scab off already, because you just keep avoiding it and you're not really accomplishing what you really want to accomplish, which is another parade in Biscayne Boulevard. That's what they're all about, dude.
Well, here's the
I've
thing.
always looked at them.
That's one of the things they're all about. What they're also all about is, you hear this over and over and over again, and it's continuity. And they've all been here for 30 years, and they all have trust in each other. Big O, here's the problem. The Terry Rozier trade for Kyle Lowry and a possibly unprotected first-round pick might be the worst trade in this franchise 37 seasons.
That's my
point. What I would do is tell my front office, you're on the clock. That trade was garbage. Make a good trade. Make a trade that can provide benefit short-term, but also not hurt the long-term. And in a real organization, someone would feel the pressure. Here's the problem. Look at the hierarchy, okay? Eric Spoelstra's boss is Pat Riley. Pat Riley's doing nothing to Eric Spoelstra. Pat Riley's boss is Nick Harrison. Nick Harrison is doing nothing to Pat Riley. Nick Harrison's boss is Mickey Harrison. Mickey Harrison is not doing anything to Nick Anderson. So what you have is this continuum of for better or worse. Well, this isn't a marriage. Yes, people can get divorced. This is a business. And in a business, you make transactional moves based on success or failure, unless you're the Miami Heat, in which case you emphasize continuity and longevity. But you know what? I love
right now we've got crap annuity.
Well, you do. And right now, I love the work Andy Ellisberg's done. I love 90% of Pat Riley's moves. I love the way that the Harrisons largely have been committed to doing what it takes most of the time.
Yeah.
But the problem is, there has to be that come to Jesus moment where you say, hey, we're not a 10-year rebuild. We're not the Dolphins waiting 20 years to win our first playoff series, or even the Panthers until they got to Blvd and finally got it right. We're not putting up with
the Heat social media now is reminding me of the Dolphins because all they do now is reminisce.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And, you know, the Dolphins, that's all they've ever been able to do for 40 years is reminisce because they haven't accomplished anything since half a century ago. And so I'm already looking at the Heat like, yo, we're already getting to this point where we're just,
you know, again, you're in the final. It's crazy because they were in the finals 2 years ago. They were. You can say what you want. You can say it's a fluke. It shouldn't happen, whatever, but they were. They were, and that bought them time. But you know what? You haven't won a championship since 2013. You're 12 years into the cycle. You got to push this thing forward a little bit. You've had bad missteps. No matter what you say, the Jimmy Butler situation played out poorly, even if you're insisting it wasn't handled poorly. Okay. The Terry Rozier trade, a disaster. You're drafting lately, very good, but let's not overstate what Khalil Ware, Jaime Jaquez Jr., and Nikola Jovic are. You know, the book's still open. It's still out on all of them, what they're going to wind up being. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying there needs to be a deep dive from within how to get this thing right. And you just wonder if the continuity works in the other way. Well, we've been in this together. We'll stick in this together. Now just go out and do the same thing. Can't afford that anymore.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. That's it's been a rough one right now. What do you got going on with the boys tonight against the Boston Celtics? Because that's going to be a bitch.
You know, this schedule's brutal. I mean, this schedule, not only Boston tonight, tomorrow, second night of a back-to-back in Memphis, Monday in New York, Tuesday come home, Wednesday come home Detroit, next Friday, week from today, Houston. You're looking like 11 games under 500 unless they find a way to get things right. You can't lose the games to the teams you should beat, like the Bulls. I think the Heat's going to wind up in the second play-in. I think the Heat's going to have to beat Chicago, either here or there, and then have to go in and face the loser of Orlando, Atlanta, just to have the right to play Cleveland in the first round of the playoffs. They totally screwed it up with that loss to Chicago. They gave the tiebreaker to the Bulls, which they could least afford. It's just a bad, crappy
They're not really
year.
a clutch team. They're not a clutch team.
No, they're not. Tyler was. Remember 2 years ago, Tyler Herro was a runner-up to De'Aaron Fox for the clutch play reward. But here's something interesting, Big O. That's when he had Jimmy Butler. That's when he had someone else taking the attention. Tyler Herro is learning what Trae Young, what LaMelo Ball, and so many other players have gone through. When all the focus is on you, it's a completely different situation. When teams can load up to you, like Tyler and Eric Spoelstra admitted they are, that's when we know, which is why when you talk to the top of our accurate Pembroke Pines report about extending Tyler, I'm telling you this. The Heat still have 15, 16 games left. If Tyler can come up in the clutch and come up in the clutch in the play-in and come through in the clutch in the playoffs, then maybe I'm willing to sit down and be at least a little bit more open-minded. What I'm saying is this is last chance saloon for Tyler Herro to prove he can be a clutch leading man, and the opportunity is right in front of him.
Sean, if we can only hit the lottery, we won't have to do the show in a week or two. Anyway, follow him on Twitter.
They've got the lottery. His name is Mickey Harrison. The money is there. The success in the moves, not necessarily.
Well, Tyler already hit the lottery because he's making like $30 million a year. He's got Katya at home. He hit the lottery already as it is. Follow him on Twitter at Ira Heat and catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Center. Better yet, subscribe to it. Ira, as always, thank you, my brother.
And
Enjoy
I've got to
the game.
say, after all these years of doing radio and online, you are still the best host I've ever worked with who pees sitting down. Thanks, Big O.
Thank you, sir. There you go. That is Ira Winderman. At home, by the way. Except that night. Why didn't I do it that night? The Integra 2025 model, $339 a month right now, baby, at the #1 volume sales, the #1 volume Acura dealership in the United States of America. It is Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. You can get 3.9% financing for 60 months. The ZDX, $439 a month, 0% financing for 72 months. The RDX, my wife drives it every day. My lifesaver drives it every day. $399 a month. You can get out there at 15601 Pines Boulevard, just off of I-75 in Pines, and the MDX Tech will take $10,000 off the MSRP. Tell Larry Schlossberg and Pat Nasto and Tony Stampone, all the fantastic people out there, that Big O sent you at Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.